I'm Amy, 29, standing in the middle of the beautifully decorated wedding venue. I should have been the happiest bride to be. However, the note in my hand felt like a lead weight, crushing all my dreams. Wedding off. Expect a call from my lawyer. We've taken matters into our own hands. The words were cold and heartless, and they were from my parents. My parents, Henry and Victoria Thompson, are well known in the upper class circles of New York. My father runs a large-scale real estate development company, and my mother is a socialite who is deeply involved in various high and charity events. Growing up, I was constantly surrounded by privilege, but also under the heavy pressure of their expectations. They had a clear plan for my life: attend an Ivy League school, major in business, and marry a man from a wealthy and well-connected family. I did go to Yale as they wished, but my true passion was in graphic design. After graduation, I shocked them by rejecting a job offer at my father's company and instead joined a small but creative design studio. Over the next 5 years, I worked hard and became a well-respected designer with my own clientele. My parents eventually accepted my career choice, but they always saw it as a short-term detour before I settled down in a proper marriage. 2 years ago, I met Leo. I was at a charity event for urban art projects, and Leo was being honored for his work as a community art teacher. He had developed an amazing program that brought art to underprivileged kids in the city. The moment he stepped on stage, I was captivated by his passion and humility. He spoke from the heart about how art had changed his life and how he wanted to give the same opportunity to others. Leo grew up in a working-class family in Queens. His father is a mechanic, and his mother is a factory worker. He worked through college with the help of scholarships and part-time jobs, and later earned his master's degree in art education. There was an authenticity about him that I had never found in the men my parents approved of. Our first date was at a local art gallery where his students' works were on display, followed by a meal at a cozy diner. For the first time, I felt completely free to be myself without having to worry about social status or proper etiquette. Our relationship deepened quickly, and 6 months ago, on a weekend trip to the Hamptons, Leo proposed with a simple but meaningful ring that had been in his family for generations. I said yes, without hesitation. When I told my parents the news, their reaction was lukewarm at best. They insisted on hosting an elaborate wedding at the Plaza Hotel with at least 300 guests, a famous orchestra, and top-notch catering. When I suggested a smaller, more intimate wedding that reflected Leo and me, they were appalled. "What will people say?" my mother cried. The Smith's daughter had a huge wedding last year. Over the next few weeks, I was in a constant battle with my parents over the wedding details. I managed to choose my own wedding dress and a more diverse menu, but I lost the fight on the guest list, which ballooned to 280 people, most of whom were my parents' business associates and social friends I hardly knew. Leo tried to stay positive, but I could see his discomfort growing as the wedding budget skyrocketed. As the wedding date approached, the stress became overwhelming. Every meeting with my mother turned into a criticism of Leo's family background. "Do you think his parents know how to behave at a formal dinner?" she once asked, sneering. My father was more direct. During a tasting session, he pulled me aside and said, "It's not too late to change your mind. There are other suitable men out there, like Alexander, whose family owns a major bank." One evening, I overheard my parents having a hushed conversation about a background check on Leo. When I confronted them, my father claimed they were just making sure all the wedding arrangements were in order. I didn't believe him, but with only weeks left until the wedding, I decided to focus on the final details. 1 week before the wedding, I went home early for my final dress fitting. As I walked into my parents' study, I heard my father talking to a private investigator. "Is there anything more we can use against him?" my father asked. The investigator replied, "The main issue is his student loans, which are common for someone in his field. And there was a bit of overlap in his past relationship timeline." My mother chimed in, "That's enough to create doubt." I pushed the door open and demanded an explanation. My father tried to justify their actions, saying they were just looking out for my best interests. They showed me photos of Leo with an ex-girlfriend at a wedding, taken a few weeks after we first met. Leo later explained that they were already in the process of breaking up and that he attended the wedding because the groom was his close friend. He should have told me about it earlier, but I believed him. However, 3 days before the wedding, I found the note from my parents. I called Leo in a panic, and he came over right away. He held my hands and said, "It doesn't matter what they do. We still have each other, and we can still get married." We decided to move forward with a smaller wedding. Our friends and Leo's family were incredibly supportive. Leo's mother offered their backyard for the ceremony, and our friends volunteered to help with food, decorations, and music. Just when we thought things couldn't get worse, I received a call from a lawyer representing my parents. He informed me that they were taking steps to protect family assets. The trust fund set up for me had a clause that allowed them to withhold it if my marriage was deemed unsuitable. They also demanded the return of all wedding gifts and preparations bought with family money and filed a temporary restraining order to prevent me from accessing family properties. I was furious. I called a family lawyer I knew, and he assured me that my parents' actions were mostly a bluff. The trust fund was set up by my grandparents, and it was unlikely that they could enforce the clause. The wedding gifts, if given to me, were legally mine. The next morning, my grandmother, Amelia, showed up at Leo's apartment. She had always been kind to me, but I had no idea which side she would take in this family dispute. She told me that she was deeply disappointed in my parents' behavior. 60 years ago, she was in a similar situation. She had fallen in love with a musician, but her parents opposed the relationship and forced her to marry my grandfather, a wealthy businessman. She had always regretted giving in. Grandma Amelia used her influence to reinstate our wedding arrangements at the Plaza Hotel. She also made sure that I had full access to my trust fund. With her support, the wedding went ahead as planned, although my parents were absent. During the wedding, Leo's vows brought me to tears. He said, "Amy, these past few days have been a test, but they've only made me more certain that you're the one I want to spend my life with. I'll stand by you through everything." My own vows were a promise to build a life based on love and authenticity. After the wedding, my parents sent a cold note reaffirming their disapproval. But surrounded by the people who truly loved and supported us, their absence hurt less than I thought it would. In the following months, my father reached out and asked to meet for lunch. The meeting was tense, but I set clear boundaries. I told them that I loved them, but I wouldn't tolerate any disrespect towards Leo or his family. Over time, my parents' attitude began to soften. 6 months after the wedding, Leo's art program received a major grant, and his work was featured in a national magazine. My father read the article and made a positive comment about Leo for the first time. Looking back, this whole experience has taught me the importance of standing up for what I believe in and the true meaning of family. Family is not just about blood. It's about love, support, and acceptance. And I'm grateful for the challenges because they've made me and Leo's relationship stronger.